Welcome everybody back to Boost in Motion, guys, and today this video is going to be a reaction video that I made. Hopefully I'll put the link up to that video where I talked about the pros and cons of lower downpipes on your VR30, Q50 or Q60. But this video that you're watching right now could be very useful for my NAV 3.5, 3.0 or 3.7 guys, or anybody that's just in the car world. So watch the whole video, comment below, tell me if you think I'm wrong about these what I'm gonna list on some of the pros and cons or the benefits or pretty much the drawbacks of going with a 2.5-inch exhaust or a 3-inch exhaust. So before I jump into it, guys, can you go below and add me at Boost in Motion on IG? I have a link that goes directly to the IG. Add me there. I put up a lot of pictures of infinities and stuff like that, and some memes, and I've been getting into the jokes of games, so it's been pretty cool and everything, and the Instagram is definitely growing. So guys, definitely go and add me there, but also remember to come back to this video. But anyway, let's continue. So let me just jump right into the steaks and eggs and potatoes, and if you're vegan, the lettuce, right? Is 3-inch or 2.5-inch better for our cars? Also, for my NA guys that are watching, pretty much NA V8, NA V6, or even my 4-bangers, still watch this video. It's gonna hopefully be, you know, informational. Anyways, when it comes to lower downpipes for your VR30, remember guys, there's two cats on our cars. We have an upper cat and a lower cat. A common modification in our platform is we remove the secondary cat. One reason is because you don't run into any check engine lights. You should not run into any check engine lights because you still have an upper cat. And number two, we noticed that you do gain some peak wheel horsepower and gain some amount of a certain amount of peak wheel torques, or whatever, whatever. So most people do it. It's the most cheap and one of the best bang for its buck modifications for this car when it comes to excelling modifications, right? But what I gotta add is going from 2.5-inch lower downpipe to 3-inch doesn't really change much. And here's why I sit there and say that. The lower downpipe is only one part of the equation. The second part, the biggest part to me in all honesty, is their CATBACK exhaust. Our cars from factory only come with a exhaust system. I think it's 2 inches, it barely goes over 2 inches from the CATBACK, right? And the lower downpipe is like from 1.75 to 2 inches to the YPIPE. It's terrible. It's completely restrictive exhaust, right? But remember guys, we have turbo cars right now. So to reach a certain amount of PSI, we have to spool those turbos up. They spin from almost 200,000 to even sometimes 300,000 RPM. This is for the tuned and boosted guys that are full freaking send. So when you go with a 2.5-inch lower downpipe, most people commonly match it up with the 2.5-inch CATBACK, and it will work. It will be perfectly fine. If you go get a tune, you will hit your peak wheel horsepower, and everything's great in the world. But what about going with a 3-inch lower downpipe with a 3-inch CATBACK exhaust? Will there be an extra gain in that? So I would add is, the pros would be, you should gain peak wheel horsepower at a higher RPM, which means that you will move, let's say you make 450 wheel horsepower at 4,500 RPM. If you put that 3-inch exhaust on, technically you should now hit 450 at a higher RPM. Now you might be making that at 5,000 or 5,100 because you added an exhaust system that is necessarily wider. But here's a misconception about that too. I want to add, it all depends on if you have a great flowing exhaust system. Hopefully I put up a video here. Hopefully there's no fair use or any big issue that's going to happen with it. But there's something called scavenging effect. And I realize in this community we don't talk about it because they just believe all exhaust systems are amazing and are dope. And what happens here is
the gases to escape out the back of the car, but the problem is they don't. They actually bunch up here, and then some of those gases come back through these two ports. They go back into the engine, and that's really bad because once the gases are fired, they want to go out because they're no longer combustible. They're not worth anything to the engine. However, if I do exactly the same test on our new tubular manifold, blow it down here, it actually stops it. In fact, it stops it so much it keeps the picture up.
When your exhaust system has this scavenging effect, it creates a vacuum to try to basically pull that exhaust gases right out. That's just the way the exhaust is designed. And because it naturally does this draft, you'll have a less likely chance of having a lot of exhaust gases building up, a lot of turbulence in the exhaust system. Remember guys, you're pushing so much exhaust out of your car at higher amount of RPM that it's so much amount of turbulence and exhaust that it actually could build up and rob some of your peak wheel horsepower. That's why some people go with like open dumps on their YPIPE, or completely just disconnect their exhaust from the lower downpipe off and just have open exhaust, because it releases a lot of back pressure on the turbos. To add now, when you sit there and really think about it, now you guys are like, well, maybe I should just hold off and just get 3-inch exhaust, because Boost is basically saying if I go with a 3-inch exhaust, I'm getting the most amount of exhaust. I should gain more wheel horsepower over the 2.5-inch, right? Necessarily, it's true. It's honestly true. It all depends on the quality, and there's really no way to test out the exhaust system, and that's what sucks. We just have to trust that a lot of these exhaust systems do have this scavenging effect. Another thing that I noticed a lot of people do in the boosted territory, at least for our cars, when it's a V6, V8, what they would do, or something with just 2 banks that come and merge into one. After those 2 banks merge into one from those 2 pipes, right? Or 2 Y pipes, however the exhaust is designed. From there on, you should keep it single exhaust. Let me explain. I'll talk about a little later for the NA guys. So when you have the exhaust gases come into one pipe now, let's say from 2.5-inch to another 2.5-inch, what you created now is an increase in pressure. Remember, all these exhaust pulses, all these gases are now being forced and back into a 2.5-inch pipe, which now means that either one, you can have a lot of turbulence, but if the exhaust is designed properly, you keep scavenging effect up. And 2, though, you increase the amount of pressure, which means if you increase the pressure and you keep that exhaust hot, now that exhaust is going to shoot out even faster. That just sounds so weird saying that on video, but it increases the pressure, and the exhaust gases will keep flowing and will keep getting pushed down, pushed out. And as the RPM goes a lot higher and higher, and the exhaust is still hot and it's moving faster, you won't be robbed with as much power, because you're keeping the exhaust gas pressure up. Now, for our turbo cars, if you have, let's say, a true dual or a true dual exhaust, if you are running at higher RPM, if you still keep that exhaust pressure up, and or if you keep the heat up, you'll be able to not get really robbed of much power. But remember this, guys, if low pressure drops and this exhaust gas starts to cool, this is why some of you guys start seeing a lot of moisture and water vapor coming from the exhaust, because the exhaust is cooling as it's coming out. This is if you're on idle. So don't ever think there's something wrong with your car when you see that. It's just quite honestly the nature of the beast. It's part of combustion is water vapor. Well, water vapor isn't released, but part of the carbonates as it goes through the exhaust. Yeah, water vapor actually is created in combustion. So understand, you just want to keep the pressure up. And if you went with a 3-inch exhaust, true dual, you should be full send RT turbos or pure turbos. But on stock turbo, it wouldn't make sense to have it. It is what it is. But if you're pushing these stock turbos to full F and send, I'm talking about you pushing 25, 30 PSI. You're trying to get the most out of those turbos. Yeah, the 3-inch could benefit. But as I'm going to talk a little later, let's jump into full downpipes. What I also want to add here, is full downpipes. Because some people, it is very cost efficient going for lower downpipe. I do recommend it. And I don't really want to get too deeply into it, but let's say if you wanted to go with a full downpipe, most of the time those are about 2.5-inch, 2 and or a 3-inch full downpipe. What I would honestly sit there and say with that is, once again, there's really no difference. You remove so much back pressure off the turbos. It's like the turbos blowing into this. That's it. Like, there's nothing holding those turbines for shooting out all that exhaust gases. So when you go with a 3-inch exhaust, you actually may create turbulence in the downpipe itself. I'm just throwing this out there. This is all theory. This one last part if you went full catless, but you can also still create a lot of build-up exhaust if you went with a 3-inch exhaust. It all depends on how the exhaust is designed. And that's what I just wanted to just really talk to you guys about. I mean, at the end of the day, if you guys went with a 3-inch lower downpipe or a 2.5 inch, just because this car over here has 3-inch lower downpipe doesn't mean it's gonna be that much better to you. Remember, it's all still up to the tuner, your fuel, your altitude, what did you eat that day. If you're vegan, it all depends on if you ate lettuce that day. It all depends. But to be honestly serious with you guys, there is a key difference in going with the 3-inch exhaust or 3-inch lower downpipe. But if you're gonna go with a 3-inch lower downpipe, looking to go into a 3-inch catback exhaust so you can get the proper benefit. I know in your head you're like, 3-inch downpipe, 2.5-inch exhaust, will that really hurt it? Necessarily, I don't see why that would be much of an issue if you have a 3-inch low downpipe and a 2.5-inch catback exhaust, because most exhaust systems such as AMS and AAM, they use an adapter or adapter plate where you can bolt up your 2.5-inch to a 3-inch lower downpipe, and then from then on it can still flow and give you the proper exhaust. Some of you guys are gonna jump in and sit there and say, but isn't that a restriction? You're basically saying that you have 2 different holes and one hole is a little bigger than the next going into a reducer. To be quite honest, do I think it's going to be much of an issue on this car? No, I don't. In my honest opinion, I don't think it will. Because at the end of the day, you guys are not... If you want to get the most performance out your car, our turbos are still so small that even though you came from a 3-inch to a 2.5-inch, the car probably won't even really notice it. It's only for the guys who have the larger turbos, or they have OEM set of turbos either from RT Tuning or pure turbo, and they're going 25, 30 psi on these turbos, and they're pushing these cars to the max, where that little bit of difference can actually rob them of 20 wheel horsepower. You'd be surprised how much turbulence is in the exhaust, but that's when you're pushing these turbos really fast. Most people are not pushing their stock units above 300,000 RPM, which is still too high for these cars. But for the pures and the RT guys, they're going freaking sen. And if you're going to go with an aftermarket set of turbos, maybe from Drop Air Performance or AMS with their larger turbo set, this is when that stuff would actually come into play, and you would need to go with a more free-flowing exhaust. Now for my V6 NA guys, right? When we talk about 2.5-inch to 3-inch catback exhaust, I'm being straight up with you guys, straight up. Remember how I was talking about the scavenging effect? It really applies for the NA cars, because our engines are literally pumps. Like, at least with the turbo guys, they're pumping air into the car, right, from the turbos. For NA guys, you guys are sucking in air and pushing out, so you have to be as efficient as possible. So when you go with an exhaust system that has a scavenging effect, it makes it so much more easier for the car to push out all the exhaust gases, because it's already being pulled out because of the way the exhaust system is designed. So just remember, if you're going to go with the 2.5-inch, it will be perfectly okay. If you're going with a 3-inch, it'll be perfectly okay. But I will add and sit there and say this too. It also depends on I would also sit there and add this, guys. If you go with the 3-inch exhaust on your NAV6, understand there may not be enough exhaust gases. You could still have a good exhaust system to have scavenging effect, and you can have the exhaust gas, it can be flowing properly. But here's the thing, how much exhaust gases is coming out that you can push that exhaust out and keep the pressure up? You have to be able to keep the pressure up. So if the pressure's up and you have the scavenging effect, you get the loud exhaust gases out. So what some people do is, their little cheat code in the exhaust system is, because you have both banks of headers, right? Remember, they come together and they go into one. What you would do is, right after that those two Y pipes connect into one pipe, you'll actually make it single there. What would happen with that is, now your exhaust pressure is going to skyrocket. Because these pulses are coming close to each other, they're going to start going faster and faster as you go to higher RPM. That's what makes the exhaust system actually flow even better when you push, because you're keeping the pressure high. When you go with the exhaust system, and let's say it goes into a 2.5 and 3-inch and it's a dual, that means you have one, let's say on a 3.7, what is that, 1.65 or something liters of exhaust gases from both banks trying to rush out. It's not keeping the flow pressure or the pressure of the exhaust up. So it'll start cooling closer to the mid and lower back of the exhaust system. So once you start revving it, yeah, once again, you're getting robbed of some power because all of the exhaust gases are bumping into each other, creating a lot of turbulence. And if it's a terribly designed exhaust system, guess what? Guess what happens? You can lose 5, 10 wheel to 15 wheel horsepower. It all depends on the exhaust system, but it is what it is. It's a V6. What do you expect, you know? But all these ponies really do count. So guys, hopefully I answered that video of some of those questions. I tried my best to, and I just want to say that, guys, so much. Thank you so much. Remember, comment below, hit the like button, watch the videos from the start to the finish. Also on top of that, remember, you guys gotta have me at boostinmotion on IG, Facebook, boostinmotion@gmail.com. You guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good night. Thank you guys, appreciate it. My hands are still ashy. You have a good day. Thank you everybody for watching. Do appreciate you guys. Love you guys very much. You can also check out the 2 links I posted for some of my other videos. Also on top of that, if you want to purchase some Boost in Motion merch, definitely check the link that I posted also. And finally, if you've been watching all my videos and you enjoy them, please hit the link to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you. Thank you.